You know, as much as we've talked, everything you just walked through makes total sense in my mind for the mom, right? Because that's like the stereotypical story that you hear. Oh, mom, you know, gave up her dreams or her this or her that to stay home with the kids because didn't want to be raised by somebody else. You know, childcare is so expensive.
Right.
And even as like open-minded as I think I can be, and as much as I love you and as much as I've seen it work, it still sounds weird when it comes out of your mouth, right? Because it's like, I know you have an entrepreneurial spirit. I know you had a bunch of like irons in the fire when you decided to give that up. What was there like a little bit of a, I don't know what the term is, ego death or something there? Like,
you know,
because I feel you own it. When the first time I asked you what you do, you're like, what do I do? I'm awesome. My wife works and kills it.
Yeah.
And I get to work out and hang out with the family and do jiu-jitsu and I cook and I clean. I'm fucking the badass Mr. Mom.
Right.
And I know that you own that, but was there some weirdness when you're making that decision?
You know, somewhat, but it certainly, you know, I think part of the problem when people say like stay at home, especially mom, is what that's usually attached to, is even if it's not intentional, there's kind of a condescension attached to it. Right. Like, oh, you're a stay-at-home mom, like you sitting on your butt, like, you know, or are you working out to keep your husband happy, like, or whatever.
You're a kept woman, et cetera, et
all
cetera.
That. And, you know, so when someone says that about like a dad, there's sort of more condescension attached to it, even if it's accidental. And it usually comes from people who, by the time they're 60, they spend most every night like drinking too much and crying about the fact that they don't know their kids, right? So it's like a weird double-edged sword. Like they, you know, I could never be a stay-at-home anything. And it's like, well, all right, you might want to try it. But for me, like, I don't know, my mom's family especially, they were all like country people, like farmers and stuff like that. So like a farmer's a stay-at-home dad.
Right.
He doesn't leave and go to work. He walks outside and starts working, and he's there for his kids, and he, you know, like is there for the family. So I would think there was some sort of, you know, some conscientious questioning of like, what am I doing? Especially because I was like working my ass off. I loved having all these different jobs and like being dynamic and, but it didn't really occur to me that like, I was like, I'm not lactating. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't turned into a female. Like I still turn wrenches every day. And maybe that was kind of the other thing is like being at home with my kids. Like I didn't turn into a lady. Right. Like I'm still a dad. I still like to lift weights and like hammer nails into stuff, you know? So I became like the project doer.
I've seen the work that you guys do in your Alaska house. That's more than a full-time job.
Right. That's all me. Right. Like, so someone's got to carry that water. So, and I just never really had a problem doing that. But also I know a lot of people that just, I mean, forget like your dad is busy and he's not around. Like there's just like a lot of kids without dads, like full stop. Like they're not present, and that sucks. Like those kids end up really confused in life. They don't understand like anything, you know, they're missing out on something usually. I'm not speaking for everybody. Hats off to all the single moms that kill it out there. You know what I mean? But I was like, I am not going down that path. Like my kids like need their parents, you know, and so that was kind of the energy, for lack of a better term, that we went into it with. And, you know, as like I said, this is kind of winding down. The kids are older. They're in school. It's not necessary. But what it's done is it's opened up the opportunity for me to, like, we bought an investment home in Alaska. I'm on the 40-foot scaffold, like sanding the log cabin to restain and chink it, right? Like that's me, not Carla, which is fine. She doesn't have to if she doesn't want to, but if I'm there for it, you know, that's just kind of my role. And that's sort of prototypically like a dad's job, right? Is to do all the, who's going to carry all those 2x6s?
Right.
Me. You know what I mean? So like that just kind of became the role that I just sort of jumped right into. And like from the outset, I was like, it's just farm life.
Right.
Like, hey, the sink is leaking, well, go turn the water off and take the kids to school, go buy a new sink, install a new sink, like that became like what I did. And that now we're not spending $500 on a handyman. And
oh, I wish it was $500. Try to find like a plumber these days. Good luck.
No kidding. So like, and every time I did something like that, every time I cooked like a dope brisket,
yeah, thanks for the meat, by the way.
Yeah, no problem, man.
It's amazing.
Happy to, bro.
I was about to trade my wife in for you when you brought over that brisket. I was like, oh, this is like the best meat I've ever had, hon.
Yeah,
You gotta,
from Austin, bro.
You gotta step it up, dude. Hey, this quick interruption is brought to you by me, Scott Groves, the host of the On the Edge podcast. This podcast is brought to you by me. I'm a loan officer who can help you with a mortgage in all 50 states across the United States. I also coach loan officers. So if you are a home buyer who's looking to get a mortgage, if you're a realtor who's looking to partner with an awesome loan officer, or if you're a loan officer looking for coaching, get in touch with me. It's those sources of revenue that allow us to produce this podcast and get out a new episode to you every week for the last couple of years. So if you're looking for a mortgage, if you're looking for a mortgage lender to partner with, or you're looking for a mortgage coach, I'm your guy. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming.